So it's definitely a scaling in. So I'm going to show you exactly how the algorithms do it. And they do the shares, and they start off, they'll do like 1,000 shares, then 2,000 shares, then 4,000 shares, and 8,000 shares. I don't get that aggressive, but we're going to show you how to do that essentially with options. So how does it track algos? So it's not, what it does is it's picking up so if you think of an algorithm, what is it? It's a black box out there that automatically, on a specific set of circumstances, automatically takes a trade, okay? So it's, this is a specific scaling strategy that they're using, and it's just kind of mimicking, it's like, all right, the black box is getting the signal here, here's the signal, and this is what we want to start doing. All right, let's see what else there. Yeah, and we can actually, if you want to look at a couple of things too. Well, what's cool too, of course, is with the cryptos. So Bitcoin, of course, has futures coming out. So we want to get those kind of settled in and going and stuff like that too. So a few things like that. You can see today on the NASDAQ futures, we did get right around 64.30. We got those two signals, and since then we've just been kind of, drifting back and reverting back to the mean. So different things like that. And so we have different kind of strategies for the indexes and stuff like that as well. Oh, okay, so good question. So what is the power correlations? So let me show you this real quick. This is, it's really more actually for more advanced traders. So if you're, kind of a beginner and getting your feet wet, I would definitely recommend, the Pro or the Elite. Don't let the names, misguide you. If you're just beginning and starting off, on this Saturday class, December 16th, we're going to give you a lot of kind of a pre-class hand-holding. So again, the class will start at noon. So from 12 to 4, I'm going to talk about that specific multi-expansion strategy, and that'll lay the groundwork so then when later in the day, for the people that are doing the elite class and you want to learn more about that algo strategy, we can dive in and layer that on top of it. But from 10 to 12, it's going to be kind of a newbie class, like, hey, you're new to options, don't worry. We'll take you through a process of this is, calls, these are puts, this is buying, this is selling, and stuff like that too. So the next question here was, what is the power correlations? So let me show you this real quick. Again, this is very powerful, but what you'll see is that it's, it's definitely for more advanced traders. So on this, couple things here. So let's say that here's the cues. You can see that there's some top hats popping up, and you just want to see like, okay, I like my stocks here right now. I don't have any cash. I've got 20% of my portfolio in Apple, 20% in Amazon, 20% in Facebook, 20% in Microsoft, and 20% in Netflix. I'm getting a little nervous about this. What happens if the NASDAQ, reverts back to the mean? Well, gosh, my portfolio is actually correlated 80% to the NASDAQ. So if the NASDAQ gets crushed, my portfolio is going to take a licking, okay? Now, in this scenario, I think it's fairly obvious. Obviously, if you own all tech stocks and the cues are, giving a signal that they're going to pull back, your portfolio is going to get hurt. What's powerful about this, though, is that you can then play around with this and change your correlation. So now, here's the same signal and say, all right, what happens if I change this out and say, you know what, I'm going to raise some cash. I'll get some inverse cues. I'm going to get some TLT, JP Morgan, and Disney, and FXY. Well, now all of a sudden, my correlation to the cues is negative 0.2, which means if the NASDAQ falls, my portfolio will actually increase in value, okay? So that, to me, is kind of fascinating because you can play around with a lot of different things. If you've got all tech stocks and the euro, okay, suddenly has a squeeze, and you want to say, well, gosh, if the euro squeeze fires long, is that going to impact my portfolio? Boom, you type in FXE or /6E, and it's going to give your current portfolio a correlation to the euro. Do you need to be worried about your portfolio if the euro is going to squeeze along, right? So to me, I mean, it's a more advanced tool, but it's like, guys, especially if you've got a bigger portfolio, this is the kind of stuff where hedge funds pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for software to learn their correlations to different asset classes. This is a tool that's included with that master class, and you can do this on your own, okay? And I just think that's incredibly, incredibly powerful for those of you that are kind of interested in that, all right? So it's very cool stuff there too. So this really begs the question, do you know how your portfolio will react if the Qs tank? But more importantly, what happens if the euro explodes? What happens if bonds go lower, okay? How is your current portfolio correlated to that movement, right? So this is the tool that can help you figure that out. So you're not, so the year of 2018 for me is like the year of no surprises. You know, I don't want to sit there and say, gosh, the euro is setting up a weekly squeeze, and to say, gosh, you know, if I had known that when the euro exploded higher, it was going to impact these three stocks, I would have sold them. Well, now I can know. I can see in advance. So then I can make the adjustments as necessary so I can, you know, not be in front of that situation, which is awesome. So you can play around with different scenarios offline. You can tweak them until you find what's right for you. And you go out in the market and you acquire those positions. And more importantly, you can do it with the correct size. So you sit there and say like, gosh, you know, I really shouldn't have half my portfolio in Apple, you know, based on this. I think I'll reduce it to 20% and use that other 30% to get exposure to long yen and some TLT or raise some cash. So there's all kinds of really cool things you can do this. And now you can actually treat and act like your portfolio as if you were a professional money manager, because this is what they do. So it's a really cool tool. I would say if you're a beginner trader, you don't need to worry about it. This really is kind of for, you know, people with larger accounts, more advanced trading. But it's really cool because it does give you kind of the same tools that the hedge fund manager has, but you don't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for it, okay? BlackRock has a software program that's $250,000. I've seen it. It does a similar thing. So anyway, so hopefully that helps. So again, so if you go to simplertrading.com/ETF, so again, the pro version, that's a Saturday class, and this will be this Saturday, December 16th. And then keep in mind that from 10 to 12 will be the bonus session for Options 101. So if you're newer to trading options, I just don't want you to feel intimidated. And then from 12 to 4, we're going to have the class talking about the haystack method, which really is essentially the multi-squeeze expansion, how to find them, how to play them, how to understand the market movement, okay? And then this will set the groundwork for those of you that do this, and what we'll do is from 12 to 4, this will be done, and then that for everybody who did the elite, we'll continue on and do the hedging strategy, okay? How do you scale in and do all that kind of stuff? And then, of course, you get the indicator. And then we're going to do 3 live trading sessions on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. And we're doing it that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday so we can knock it out before the holidays, because those 3 days will be pretty good trading. All the live trading we've done this year, people have made enough money during the class to actually pay for the class. So that's always kind of the goal that we do. Obviously, we can't guarantee it. We don't know how the markets are going to be. But guess what? It doesn't matter because we're trading signals. We're not trading direction. It doesn't have to be an up market, right, to make money. And then, of course, the master class includes all of that plus the correlations tool. Also, we have scheduled our first live event in Austin. It's going to be at the end of March. And for those of you that sign up for any of these classes, you'll get an opportunity to sign up for that at an early bird price that will not be available to anyone else. And the live event is fun. It's an in-person event in Austin at the end of March. Includes a live poker tournament. We all, we all get to hang out, and those are a lot of fun. So that'll be, I don't know if I was supposed to share that or not, but that's something that you'll get a chance to then sign up for if you're interested in that. So that's what we got. Should be a lot of fun stuff there. So let me just hang out here. I can answer questions. We can look at charts. Okay, good question. For the live trading, is it typically all day or just the AM sessions? So typically, the live trading, we tend to do, it's generally market hours. So I'll do central time here. So the live trading, we'll do about 8:15 to 3:15 central. Usually it's like a 90-minute break for lunch. So we do heavy open into late morning, 60 to 90 minutes for lunch, depending. and then go through the close. So we'll do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's fun though. It's good times. And if the market's slow, we'll talk more about, so what I've done is that, I'll be obviously specifically looking for strategies that kind of fulfill the lessons that we talked about on Saturday. Now, if there's other things that set up, I'll take those too and show you and talk to you and tell you exactly what I'm doing. We're going to focus on options, but I will do some futures trades. If the Bitcoin futures are given a signal, I'll do those as well. So it's really just kind of, a little bit of my main method, the main reason to do the live trading is kind of the main reason that, so here's the idea that let's say that you're going to go play golf with your boss on Monday. So you've never played golf before, and over the weekend you read the top 3 books on playing golf. You've never swung a club in your life, but you read the top 3 books on trading golf. So you go and meet them. So what do you think is going to happen you're going to hit the first drive off the first hole. You've read the books, you know everything strategically based on the books, and what do you think is going to happen when you swing the club? It's going to be a disaster because you don't have that hands-on practice. And so the idea with the live trading is to get you in an environment, kind of a mentoring type environment, where you've got the hands-on practice to actually spot specific setups, ask questions. I'll be doing them live, so you'll get to see me doing them in my own account. But also because, the markets are the markets. What do you do if the market gaps up 40 S&P points? What do you do if the stock that you're looking at, blows through your stop? What do you do? Where are your targets? How do you scale in? I mean, all that stuff is great, and it's, and we'll talk about it on Saturday, but then when you do it in real life and you do it in practice, it gives you the confidence to do it, okay? When you sit there and you're swinging a golf club and you've got a golf pro watching you, correcting all the nuances of your swing as you're doing it, it's easier to develop the skill set more rapidly. And that's all trading is a skill set. Okay, and one of the best things I can tell you in terms of trading is that stop trying to make money. Okay, that's what everybody tries to do, and that mindset over time does not work because it causes you to make a lot of mistakes. Instead, on your next trade, try to become a better, more skilled trader. On every trade that you're doing, think of it as, on this trade, I'm going to increase my skill set as a trader, because then you actually start trading correctly. And if you start trading correctly, it doesn't mean you're going to make money on every trade, but it means the ones that don't work out, you're going to cut loose and you're not going to cry about it, right? And the ones that are working, you're going to let them run because you're working on increasing your skills as a trader. So if you learn how to do the trading skills properly, the profits follow. And it's the toughest thing in the world because guess what? None of us ever place a trade where we expect it to lose money, but the reality of it is that some of the trades we place don't make money, okay? So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. We'll talk more about that, but part of the trading is the mental game. And so by doing it live, we can actually talk about the mental game live as it's happening. Okay. Now what will happen, just so you guys know, in the live trading, typically what I'll do during the first hour and a half is we just dive right into it. Like I'll just start placing trades, I'll talk about it, but it can sometimes go fairly quickly, and sometimes it could be a little overwhelming. But then we go back and we review it, okay? Because I like you to see what I call a real environment. When I learned the most in my trades was when I got to sit next to a trader for like a week and just watch them trade. Like, what are they doing? Why did they do this? Why didn't they do that one? And it just helped get to see somebody doing it. And, and there's different people, they have different styles. But what I found is that all their methodologies were fairly simple, very rules-based, but then they also knew how to take advantage of unique situations simply because they'd been around the block and they knew kind of what to look for. Oh yeah, no thanks, Bob. Yeah, the Austin experience is fun, and I always these webinars are great. They're easy for all of us. You guys get to stay in your homes. I get to stay. None of us have to travel, but the live events are great just simply because we all get a chance to kind of hang out. All right, let's see what else here. Do you have anything like that trading along with you guys for simpler trading customers? I'm not quite sure what you mean. I mean, we do have a trading room. So what we do in the trading room is that we'll just, any trades that are setting up, there's about 8 of us that kind of rotate through there. The idea of this live trading is essentially it is a highly intense, focused event where we're only trading this strategy and we're looking at trades from beginning to end. So the idea of a live trading mentorship is more of kind of like, think of it if you sign up for 3 sessions with a golf pro. You're sitting there kind of getting critiqued on your swing. And that's the goal with this, is that it is a focused live trading event on a specific strategy where we're specifically looking and executing those trades. Sometimes, like today, I was in the trading room and there's not much, it's like, oh, let's do a spread here. We're looking for options expiration. But during the class, it's going to be, all right, we're going to be looking at these 3 different time frames. We're specifically looking for these things so we can actually do them and execute them so you can see what it's like in real life to do these specific trades. And then from there, what will happen is that, sometimes in the trading room, if I'm doing one of those, for people that hadn't been in the class, they're not going to understand the methodology. It's like, okay, well, what do you do with that? Well, this is going to be the first scale in, and, and because the management part of it is what you learn during the class. So the goal is at the end of the class, you guys can do it all on your own, which is great. Richard, will the indicators work equally well with futures, i.e. any mini S&Ps, et cetera, et cetera? So the answer to this is overwhelmingly yes. So they're actually, the algo strategy specifically is designed more for futures. I would never do it on silver, okay? I've talked to guys who have run CTAs doing reversion to the mean strategies. One guy almost blew up his entire fund on silver. So there are things like that I'll tell you that there's markets to avoid, like never do it on silver. But S&Ps are, they're one of the better markets to do it on. If we look at the S&Ps, well, in fact, like right now, you've got, on a daily chart, and I'll talk about this too, and it's just like, the whole scaling in. So like something like this, I'd scale in with options, like on the spiders or SPX. But then on the hourlies, when you get this, you're looking for more kind of an immediate reversion to the mean. And it's like, oh, that's not, and here we moved back, but that's a drop of 10 points. That's a real move in the S&Ps, and it's very likely that we come down to 2656 before that's over. And then another one that it actually works well with is crude oil. Now, crude oil, you don't get as much on the daily, but you do get a lot on the, like on the 4-hour, so the hourly chart on crude is my favorite. So if you look at this and say, okay, well, gosh, we're a little far away from the mean, back to the mean. Oh, we're a little far away from the mean, back to the mean. And honestly, once you start doing reversion to the mean trading on crude oil, you almost never go back to directional, which is almost that's saying a lot. Eric, are we able to do these for Ninja as well? I see a couple of people asking that. I cannot make Saturday. When will you be having the class in 2018? So I don't do repeat classes, so we're not going to do it again. However, what I would encourage you to do is get the class, and then you can watch the recording. This is kind of our early bird pricing. Once it goes into our store, the prices are raised. So I'm not a huge fan of doing a class over again, so I put my heart and soul into like, okay, here's a strategy, and then we have the recording of it. We are looking at scans for top hats, absolutely. Yeah, and gold as well. Crude for futures, crude oil is one of my favorites. Gold's okay. The metals kind of freak me out sometimes, but I mean, gold does revert back to the mean as well. Gold just has weird moves, but if you're comfortable with it, but I do really like crude oil for it. And what's great though is anything you're looking at, you can throw up a chart and just see. It's like, okay, well, how is it responding? Okay. Yeah, so it looks like we do have it for TradingView, and then if there, we will for people that are interested in NinjaTrader, if there's enough. So part of it is just if there's enough, it's like, if it's like, it's one of those things that we'll look at. Okay. Yeah, so good question. Eric's just saying, John, my biggest hang up is when to actually trigger the first buy in a squeeze. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to dive into on Monday. And I think, so the nice thing too is that when there's multiple squeezes, it makes it easier. But I'm going to talk about, I'm a big proponent of kind of a scale-in strategy for that as well. And we're going to talk about specifically exactly what options to buy, okay, how far out to buy them based on the time frame, just so you kind of have a checklist, and that way you don't have to wonder, like, okay, when do I do this? Any reason that you use the 20-year on a daily chart, can you just use the 2-year? You can absolutely just use the 2-year. I like to use, sometimes I'll use the 20 because I like to go back like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and it's like, okay, what happened then? But you don't need to go that far back. Are you able to tweak the parameters of these studies? Yes, you are. So we will, so a good question. So can we just buy the multi-squeeze indicator? So just so you know, we will, at some point, once the class is over, we will offer just the indicators themselves. Now, just so you know, the multi-squeeze indicator, I believe, will be coming out at $4.97. So the nice thing is with the class, it's kind of like the same price, plus you get all that information on how to use it. So that part's up to you. If you're not, if you're like, you know what, I don't need the strategy, I don't need the class, I just want the tool. At some point, the tool will become available. Oh, no, good question, Gator. Do these indicators only work if these stocks are being acquired by the institutions? So that's a good question. So that's not necessary, but what I've found is that stocks with, heavier institutional ownership, and on Saturday we're going to talk about kind of a checklist for which stocks to do, tend to react better. There's going to be, and also, recent IPOs, I'm not going to do this on. Right? You've got to have kind of a certain amount of history. So, there are some stocks that I wouldn't do this strategy on. There's just, and a lot of that has to do with market cap. If a stock has a $2 billion market cap, it could just keep going on and on and on and on and not get into that institutional flow. So the good news about this is that a lot of the names that it works on are typically the more liquid names, so especially when it comes to options, which is great. I'm super excited, too, to start using this more on the cryptocurrencies. How do you determine if options are fairly priced or overpriced, considering you might be buying out of the money options? So great question. Now, by default, I prefer in the money options, typically a delta 70. However, I also like to take advantage of going theta positive, okay? Now, there are, if you're more advanced, there are programs you can run and say, gosh, I'm looking at the delta 70, 60, 50, 40, 30s, and based on this, the 30s are actually overpriced and the 70s are underpriced. And you can do that. The nice thing, though, is what I've found is that with this expansion strategy, it kind of allows a lot of room for error. So if there's an option chain and you buy an option that's kind of slightly more expensive than another one, it's not going to, I would say, harshly impact your results, if that makes sense. So it's a good question. It's a little bit, it's one of those things that if you have the tools and says, well, of all these options based on, theoretical pricing and all this kind of stuff, this is your best deal, and that's fantastic. But it's not a make or break to the strategy. Yeah, so haystack method versus top hat, sure, and that's a little confusing. So the hardest thing about these classes isn't the classes themselves, it's what to name it. So we kind of, the haystack is kind of the idea of finding a needle in a haystack. So this really what this is, I mean, this actually really should be probably the multi-squeeze method. So this is what we're going to be talking about on this day is the multi-squeeze. And then on the elite, we'll be talking about the multi-squeeze and the top hat, which is the algo strategy. Can one, yeah, Peter, absolutely. Yeah. If you just want to, so if you're sitting there going like, well, this sounds good, I'm not sure. My recommendation is just do this one, because then what will happen is you will have an opportunity, if you want to upgrade, and that'll give you a sense of, okay, yeah, this was really awesome, and I want to continue building on this foundation, or you know what, this was plenty, and I'm good. No, well, part of it is big block selling, but part of it too, Helen, is just the price action takes on a different flavor when there's distribution. But it's not an immediate downtrend is the thing. So it's kind of recognizing what distribution looks like in an uptrend when the market's still going up. How do you enter your portfolio into the correlations indicator, i.e. if you have day trades, swing trades, long-term trades? Yeah, so Brad, so you just plug them in individually. So it's not going to automatically read your portfolio. So it's not the the $250,000 version from BlackRock automatically reads your portfolio. So it is more kind of inputting in manually. And what I do is like directionally, it's like, okay, if I've got calls on Apple, that's easy. If it's a put credit spread on Apple, it's a little different, but what you can do though too is that it's more, you can enter in the amount of risk in your account. So say you have a $100,000 account and you've got a $10,000 max loss on an Apple put spread. Well, you could put in that 10% of your portfolio is represented by Apple. So we'll talk more about that, but it's, again, compared to something like the $250,000 software from BlackRock that tells you exactly what's going to happen, this is something where it's like you can get close. You can kind of get into the ballpark, so at least you've got that data to make some decisions. Steve, yes. So generally what I like to do is I like to look for at least 3 top hats. So on the first one, if I see one, that's kind of my heads up. The second one, I'll start taking positions, depending on the time frame. And we'll do a deep dive into that on Saturday for sure. Will communications be live in the class or only by chat box? So during the class, only myself will be on the mic. I'm going to have some help as well. Eric's going to come on for the Options 101. Henry and Danielle are going to help out, and then during the week we'll have some help as well. So whoever's the moderator essentially is on the mic. So, but everyone else, there'll be an open chat forum. So what we do is during the actual class, it's more of a chat. So you can actually see everybody else's questions too, which I think is great. It's more of a community. Which will be the best day to attend the live sessions, as I cannot make it on all 3 days. So I would say if you could only do one day, do Tuesday. That's the middle day. Tuesday is one of my favorite days to trade. Monday, we'll have some time to kind of set stuff up, but I would say if you could only do one day, do Tuesday. If you can do 2 days, that's trickier. Just make Tuesday one of them, and then just pick one of the other ones. Okay. Yeah, and so just to review again, so this class, now if you cannot attend it live, that's fine, but you're interested, I would encourage you to still get the class because you can lock in this early bird pricing, because when it goes into our store, it becomes higher price, and you can watch the recording later. And again, just keep in mind, this is going to be on Saturday, the 16th, and there's going to be a couple of sessions on this. So from 10 to 12, this is going to be a bonus session for your newer folks, all right? And that's going to be kind of an Options 101. So that way if you're newer to options, you're not intimidated at all. You'll kind of get the basics there. And then from 12 to 4, I'm going to teach essentially the multi-squeeze method, okay? And we're gonna go into a lot of nuances here. We're going to go into a lot of strategies. We're going to talk about specific checklists on how to do that. But then this is also, for those of you that are doing the elite class, this is also going to lay the foundation for this class, okay? And then what we'll do then is we'll take a break, and then from about 4 to, I don't know really, 4 to 5, maybe longer, then we'll do the top hat strategy. And then we can also then, after that, we dive into the power correlation strategy. Now, what I'll do is during the Saturday class, I'll just say, look, if you guys are brain fried, we can do the correlation strategy on Monday, okay? Which actually may make more sense. But we can kind of, we'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I always like to do a mental check and see how everybody's doing. But we definitely want to do the entire Saturday class, the whole multi-squeeze and top hat. We want to knock that out on Saturday, so we're ready to go. Can we place trades during the live sessions? Absolutely, yes. So the idea with the live sessions is that you can follow along with what I'm doing. You could do the opposite of what I'm doing if you want to. You could place your own trades. You could do it in a demo account, or you could just watch. Either way. But the main thing is just so you can see in a real environment how this stuff works. Will this tool really be necessary for cryptos now, or maybe more so as the volume in cryptos begins to pick up? Well, so the cryptos, what's interesting right now is that, oh gosh, is it XBT? I'm trying to remember the Bitcoin. See if this pops up here. Yeah, so you'll notice here in crypto, so here's the crypto futures. So look at this now we're not, this is all newer data, so we don't have a ton of data here. But look at even on a 5-minute chart, this thing's reverting to the mean all over the place. We're going from 18,700 back to, here. So I think this is going to be very viable in cryptos. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun things to do with that space too. All right. Yeah, and I'll break down the indicators and what they're made of and stuff like that too. A lot of it is, so for the top hat, it's looking at 3 different time frames, and it's looking for alignment on all 3 different time frames of a specific distance away from the mean. That's kind of what triggers the black boxes and things like that. So we want to look at that. Oh yeah, thank you. So let me review this again real quick. So we did the Saturday class. So again, Saturday, December 16th. So then we'll talk about the live trading. And then again, it's 10 to 12 for options 101 for those that are newer, 12 to 4. That is going to be the multi-squeeze method. And then from there, we'll take a break. And then from 5 o'clock on, we'll be looking at the top hat. Now, the live trading is going to be on December 18th, 19th, and 20th. Okay, so it's going to be a power pack 3 days, and it's going to be during market hours. Okay. And then keep in mind that with the Pro, you get this indicator. With the Elite, you get the multi-squeeze indicator and the top hat. And then with the Master, you get the multi-squeeze, top hat, and power correlations. All right? Yeah, this will be fun. Yes, thank you. These are all Central Time, yes. Whoops, that was bad. So Central Time. Okay? If you guys have any questions, I'll be in the room, this week as well. We'll send you more email confirmation. This is going to be a great class. It's going to give you the tools and essentially the knowledge necessary to knock it out of the park for 2018. The markets are changing. You want to be aware of this stuff, and you want to know how to trade it. So I'm super excited about this class. This is what I'm incorporating into my own trading plan. I'm excited to share it, and looking forward to working with you guys on Saturday. You guys have a fantastic evening. And have a good night. See you bright and early tomorrow, and we'll be rested and relaxed and ready to go this upcoming Saturday. Have a good one.